Welcome to phase 2, story audit. And if you've made it this far, well done. I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you. And I want you to be proud of you. You have to be proud of you. You're making the necessary upgrades to your human being, your beingness, your character, as if this was a game. You have leveled up, you have increased your skills, you have gained XP. So well done, because now you can tackle bigger, greater, and PBM bosses, and you can, you know, try new things out. This is just going to be epic. But before I even get into it, phase 2 is going to be it's going to be emotional, I think. It is going to really, you're gonna dig deep with this one. And it's going to be tough, I think, on just the emotional, psychological, physiological aspect of your being. Because this is going to be something that is so deep inside you, so rooted in you. This is like your identity. And it is what you think is your identity, but it's not really your identity. It's just what you think is your identity. And that's going to be a very challenging process. And so, you know, the more you can dig deeper and go within, the better the outcome is going to be on the other side. So know that, yes, you are diving deep into the depths and the darkness of your being. And it doesn't have to be just darkness, it could be amazing things too. We will get into it later, but you know, there's light on the other side. That is basically what I want to say. Alright, so shedding the old skin. Before you can become the man God intended, you must see clearly the man you've been pretending to be. So, the foundational truth: understanding your operating system. Humans run on stories. Stories become beliefs. Beliefs become reality. And until you surface the old story, you cannot overwrite it. This is the phase where you discover the narrative you've been unconsciously living. And the analogy I want to give with this one is, think about, if you have an iPhone or you have an Android phone, a Samsung or whatever it is, you know how there's updates, right? There's always updates. And when you're doing the awareness work, like in phase 1, which you are still doing, I 100% know that you are doing that consistently, because you are part of Khalsa mindset and now you are a different being. You have rebirthed yourself. But when it comes to updating your software, like the iOS, the next iOS, it has to override the old iOS. It has to override the old patches and the old updates that were there, the old features, to add the new ones. Just like a software system, if you come from an engineering background or like computer or research or whatever background, I'm sure, to bring in the new stuff, you gotta overwrite the old stuff. Like, for example, right now, I'm facing some memory issues where I've just got so much content and it's just taking so much space, especially when you're recording in like 4K and stuff. Like, the space really starts adding up, and these are some of my struggles on the back end. But for me to put in new material, new content, new things, I have to override the old one. So right before this presentation, for example, I had to delete my old content and whatever was taking too much space, and I had to make the executive decision to say, hey, this isn't really, I don't really need this content anymore. I've really used it. And I got a chance to watch back my old stuff too, and I was like, oh my god, I cringed at myself. And I just had fun with it, but I had to override that. And just like that, all of us individually are running on some sort of operating system, some iOS update, something we are running on, which is basically dictating the whole system, which is dictating your whole reality. because that's the story that's playing. So, you cannot be using the features of iOS 5, but your phone is on iOS 18. Like, these are just completely different operating systems, and they have different functionality, their design's different, there's just differences there. And so this phase is all about, again, first understanding exactly what your operating system is. What is the system that you're running on right now? All right, we are back with the GPS analogy. Yeah, we've used this so much now, right? GPS analogy is all about finding your current location. And what's your current location? You have to know where you are. It's like updating your GPS. If you don't know your current location, no matter how powerful your destination is, the map can't guide you. Again, if your GPS is not precise to your exact location, it's going to be difficult to find your way. Because if your GPS is off by 1 kilometer from where you are, now you have like a kilometer radius of having to figure things out by yourself and discovering the place by yourself, because it's just not precise, and now you have to figure things out. And so this again is the same thing, where the more you hone in on your operating system, your belief system, your story, your narrative that you've been talking and speaking and living off of thus far, until you can really pin that down, it is difficult to change your behavior at the root cause. Change your perception, change the way, the lens you see life from. To just change your beliefs, you will automatically change your reality. And so this chapter is going to be so powerful. This phase is going to be extremely powerful, because it will open up the doors to conscious awareness to your operating system. It will shine light on the depths of what your story is. And that story has basically created the life you have right now. Looking at number 2 here, story mapping, your life narrative. Your stories are your current coordinations. All right, these are your current coordinates. And they tell you exactly where you've been living mentally, emotionally, spiritually until now. All right? That's what these stories tell you. Next, navigation ready. So clear the path forward. Clear your path forward here. So once you know really where you're truly standing in terms of your belief system, in terms of the story you tell yourself, then you can really plot an accurate course to where God is calling you to become. So really simple stuff, but very, very deep stuff. Okay? First, we know where you are. Figure out where you are exactly. We'll know what your story's narrative has been so far. We'll know your life's narrative, what is playing out in your life and why that's playing out in your life. And then from that point, dude, it is clear, go. Then we know exactly how to move forward. The 3-step exercise, story and belief extraction. Okay, step 1, tell your story. So I want you to imagine yourself as if you are just telling your story to a stranger. You are never going to meet this person again. And how I really came up with this is from my own experience, where on my travels, I traveled across India, I traveled across Thailand, and I've met lots of people, even in Hong Kong itself, and had the privilege to really be around a lot of different places, a lot of different locations, situations. And what I noticed, again, going back to phase 1, right? I am always observing myself. And so what I observed was that I keep repeating the same story. Like every new person I meet, because on my travels I got a chance to meet so many people in such a huge volume, and I got to spend a lot of quality and deep time as well with a lot of people. By just looking at that, I could piece together, and I observed that, wait, I keep telling everybody the same thing, like, oh, when I was a child this happened to me, and when this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, and this person sucks in my life, and that person helped me so much, and this and that. And as I would share my stories with strangers on my travels, at the airport, at the bars, at the clubs, at the gardens, at the beach, wherever I was, I would be sharing, and we would be talking, and then they'd do their sharing, and they'll tell me about where they come from and what brings them here. Like, hey, you and me are both in this same location. Like, what led us to this point? And so we'd be sharing these stories. And in so doing, I realized, like, I have a very same story. Like, I'm not going around and telling different people different stories. I was going around and I'm telling everybody the same stuff. Like, hey, this happened to me, that happened to me. And depending on how deep the conversation went, I got more out of me. Like, I spoke more. The more I spoke, the more information, the more of my story came out of me, the more emotional I became. And the more like, I was like, damn, like it was what it was. I didn't question anything. I just told my stories. And that's basically what I want you to be doing here. I want you to record your video or record your voice, or even go out, travel the world, go talk to strangers, and start telling your story. And if you can't really do that, then just start telling your story to your friend or your friends, or whatever it is. Make a voice note, open up a journal, and start writing your story, like as if you're meeting somebody, and like, what has led you to this point in your life now? Like, what has happened from your birth until now, where you are now writing the story, recording the video, making the voice note, talking to that stranger, whatever your option is here, whatever you choose to do. What is that story? That's step one. Tell your story. And speak fully, speak openly, as if you are never going to meet this person again. So you have no worries of, I know how people feel like, don't reveal too much information because they're gonna use it against you, and don't be vulnerable, that's a weakness. Like, we don't want that. We want to be as vulnerable as possible. We want to dig as deep as possible. That's what you want to do. You have to do that. And just treat it that way, and just do that. So that's step one. Step two, we're going to run through GPT. Like, whatever you write, whatever your story is, as much detail as possible, run it through GPT. Just tell GPT all that, and then ask it to, kind of summarize your beliefs and summarize yourself and others and the world. Like, summarize the beliefs that you have of yourself, of others, and of the world, and just do that. Tell it to summarize it. And then I want you to share it in the community. Like, just share that summary in the community. Don't share the entire, whatever you write down, your journal and everything. And the reason I say this is because it's going to be long. It's going to be hours on end, and I don't see myself or anybody else reading these stories for hours on end. Rather, it will be a lot easier for everybody and for me to read and understand you better if you could just give me a briefer summary, and then maybe later we can go into more depth if that's required. And just go raw, don't filter anything. That's the focus. The focus is to go completely raw. Don't filter, don't look good, you don't need to be looking fancy and let me posture up, I don't want to look like a fool. Let all of that go. Share your childhood, share your parents' struggles, and share your struggles, and share your victories and pains and dreams and everything. And the purpose of this is to really have a truth baseline of yourself, right? So this becomes your honest starting point for transformation and growth within the brotherhood. Okay? Now let's get into detailed step 1, step 2, step 3. What does it look like, and what does it include? This is going to be your stories protocol. All right? You want to have a raw life narrative. So what does that mean? What's your personal history been? Like, just go back straight up, go back to like you just came out of your mama's womb and now you're fresh in the world, and what's the first thing you can remember? And it's going to be so much detail, as much detail as you can remember, from the first thoughts you can remember, from the first feelings you can remember, and from age 1 to wherever you are right now. You could be 20 years old, 18 years old, 15 years old. You could be 30 years old, 35 years old, 40 years old, 45 years old, 60 years old. Like, there's going to be a whole range of people, but you need to know your story. What is your story? And you have to go in as much depth as possible. And that is why you cannot rush through this phase. Again, just like every phase, you cannot rush through this one either. Because you're not just going to sit down after watching this recording of mine talking to you and telling you what to do right now and then say, okay, I'm just going to recollect everything and I'm just going to say it. No, this is a long process. Like my process of me telling you how I went on these travels and I told these stories, this has been a years long process, years in the making, which allowed me to get enough information and enough narrative of my stories to piece in the puzzle pieces. I literally went to India to talk to people in the village that I was raised in. So ages 1 to 6, I was raised in a village. I mean, ages like few months to 6 years old, I was raised in a village. So that was my home back then. And so I don't remember much of that stuff, like how I was, what I used to do, what I didn't do, like these things. I literally had to go back to where I started. And I had to go talk to the people and the older gentlemen and the older people in the village and different people to get that story, to really do this work. And I say this because I want you to know, like, this is deep work. Like, I went to India and I went to all these different places to figure myself out and find my answers. And back home, nobody understood. Like, dude, what is this guy doing? He's got to get a job. He's got to make money. He's got to, get married soon. And he's got to find, a wife or something. Like, what is he doing traveling around and aloof and doesn't have a job and doesn't have a degree and no future prospect? And what is he doing? Nobody understood this. And that was so difficult for me. Obviously, it was difficult because I felt completely alone. However, God had my hand. God was holding my hand and he was saying, hey, this is the path I have for you. And yes, I am making you go through the fire, but you have to go through this fire because there is a purpose for you. And I am doing it all for you. And thus I just did not listen to man and I listened to God. And I went. I had no money in the bank. I had money in the bank. Whatever the situation was, I did not care. I just listened to what God instructed me to do. Same way, this will not be a quick process. And that's why I will be very reluctant to just pass you into the next phase quickly. Because you are going to have many, many, many iterations. You are going to have many, many, many insights. And I don't want you to be trapped on this phase forever, obviously. And so when I think that you have done enough of the work, you will be able to go to the next phase. But this is very deep work. So what do you include? You share your childhood experiences. You share your relationship with your parents. You share your family dynamics. You share your formative early memories that shaped your world view. All right? You share your life experiences. Include your struggles. Include your victories. Include your pain points. Include your dreams, your beliefs, your turning points, your fears, pivotal moments that defined your path. These things you just want to do, okay? And how do you approach this? The recording guidelines, again, just treat it like you're talking to a stranger. The mindset is you got the camera or you got the voice note or whatever it is. Let's say you're working a job. Suddenly, because you've gone through phase 2 and you've learned about phase 2 and now you're actively working on phase 2, you might be at work and suddenly, because your brain is thinking about this, like it's thinking about your story because you want to know your story so you can change your reality, right? So you're thinking about it, you're at work, and suddenly something comes to you, a thought comes to you, and you're like, oh dude, that's how my childhood was. Oh dude, that's something that makes me really angry. Oh dude, I hated it when that happened to me in my life at that time. Like, you're gonna get these ideas, and what you want to do is, again, observe and note them down, write them down, because this is what your story is. These things are your story, and you want to catch your story. Basically, you want to find out what your story is, and only you know your story. You tell your story. So you really want to do that. And the whole idea of talking to a stranger is it creates this psychological safety for complete honesty, because we don't want to filter anything. You don't want to filter anything at all. You want to feel safe. You want to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. That is the only way for true transformation. You have to do that. Authenticity is key here. Just go raw, don't filter, don't try to look good. The goal is truth, not impression management or social acceptance, okay? You're not trying to get accepted for something here. The only thing that will get you social acceptance, especially inside Khalsa mindset, is going raw. It's being completely 100% truthful. Not with anybody else, but with yourself. Again, if you're not truthful with yourself, how can the world be truthful with you? Okay? So, there's just so many things here that you have to do. And then number 2, we will start extracting that information from ChatGPT. Once you have collected enough of this story where you're like, you know what, this is it. Yeah, this is pretty much my story. This is what I believe. Then you put that into ChatGPT. I know some people that have this story of women are bad, women cheat, women just insert something negative. Women are like that. Oh, these days you can't trust any woman. And that's a story. Note that down, right? That's part of your story. You have a story that says women are bad, and that's what you are always telling people every time you sit down with your friends and you start talking and you're like, oh, this happened, that happened, women are like this, don't believe them. Oh man, these days it's hard to find a good woman. Like, okay, these are your stories. Put them down. That becomes your basically narration. That's your narration, and you just want to put that down. And once you've really accumulated this entire story of your whole life, the entire thing, then we can really start understanding what the story is. And ChatGPT is just such a powerful tool to really help you do that now, because it will just summarize the whole thing. You just want to ask ChatGPT to, hey, type in your whole story to it, give it the whole thing, give it the whole shebang, and tell it, hey, can you identify the patterns and the themes that you see in this story? What are the key themes? What are the key features? What are the key thought processes and the belief systems that you hear or that you can know from this story? So the focus area will be to extract recurring beliefs about yourself, about others, and about the world that you have, that you hold right now. Look for patterns that have been unconsciously driving your decisions and actions. You must do this, right? Let me give you an example of myself. So, for me, and this is a little bit, again, I'll be vulnerable, I'll lead by example. So, one of the things I did was, so my story goes, when I was born, I'm like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months years old, 3 months old, and my parents are in Hong Kong. And the story goes that they can't really afford me because my dad's just working 2 jobs and my mom's also working, and they can't afford me. They don't have time for me, and so they decide that it is a better idea, a better decision to send me to India. And 2 months old me does not know this fact. He doesn't. Obviously now I've done all the work. I've gone through phase 2, and I've gone through the advanced strategies that you'll learn after phase 3 and as you go on, but I did not know that. And so as a child, this 3-month-old kid, Harjot Singh, at 3 months, is now in the village. It's not a very rich village. It's a very small, kind of poor village. We kind of start in a little bit of a mud house kind of situation, slowly upgrade a little bit. And so I remember just, seeing and being around farms and just being an aloof kid and just growing up from the ages of 1 to 6 in the village. And at that time, I had no idea that Hong Kong was a thing, like Hong Kong is a country or a place or it exists. Like my whole world was in the village. That was my whole world. And in the village was my uncle, my father's younger brother, my chacha, and my grandmother, my aunt, my great-grandfather for a while before he passed. And I'm so blessed to have the privilege to have lived in his presence. And so what happened was, to that child, my grandmother was actually my mother for the first 6 years of my life. She was my mother. And my uncle, my chacha, was my father for that time. And that's just what I called them. I called my grandmother mom, and I called my uncle dad. Like, that's just what I thought it was. Like, yeah, you guys are my parents. And to that child, they were his parents, because that was all he knew. He didn't know anything better, and the village was his home. Like, this is my place. This is all that exists. Nothing exists out of this village, and this is our house, and this is it. This is our family. And then one day, my mother, which is my grandmother, tells me that she shows me 2 photos, these passport-sized photos. And she shows me the photos, and on it, there's a man and there's a woman. And she tells me their names, and she says, hey, this is your father, and this is your mother. And they're gonna come and get you. And you are going to Hong Kong, because this is not your home. And to that child, he's like, what are you talking about? You're my mother. And I'm telling this to my grandmother, right, at that time. You're my mother. Like, what is this? I don't care about this. Who are these people? I don't know them. I don't love them. I don't care about them. I love you. You're my mother. And that's my father right there. What are you talking about? This is not my home. This is my home. I live here. I've been here for my whole life. And at that point, I'm like 5 years old, 6 years old. That's been my entire life. And that's just what it is. And so she breaks that news to me, and she tells me like that. And then now I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to get anxious. I'm starting to get like, what is this? Like, they're going to come and get me. They're going to take me away from my home, and they're going to take me somewhere else. And I have to live with them, and I don't even know that. What is this? And I remember like one night, literally the car comes and they wake me up, and it's like wake up, get up, and and that day finally has come. I'm about to be taken away by these murderers, these torturers. These people are here to take me away, and they're gonna take me away from my family and my life and everything I know. And here they are, the people that were in the photo, who are actually my mom and dad, right? And boom, next thing I remember, I'm in the car, I'm sitting at the back, there's a window at the back, at the back of the car, that the window on the back basically, and I'm like, no, like, mom, I'm crying, mom, I'm looking at my grandmother, who's standing at the gate as the car's moving further and further away from the gate and leaving the village. And then as the village, there's a turn in the village, and then as that turn happens, and now I no longer can see the house anymore, and I no longer can see anybody anymore, I'm like, mom, no, and boom, my life is fucking over. Like, it's done, right? I mean, whew, I wish I could have told you this story when I was telling it on my adventures and telling it to strangers. Now I can tell it with, laughter and fun and joy, and just because I've done the work. I've rewritten the stuff, and now I'm almost making it a lot brighter than how I told it when I was telling it to others, and when I went and I was telling my stories and stuff. It was a lot darker. It was a lot darker. Now it's a lot more positive because I've done the work. You'll do it too in the future phases, but this is the story. And to that kid, then he comes to Hong Kong. It's a completely new place, and now the mom really loves him, but this is a new mom, and who the fuck is this? And this is your dad, and this is your new house. And oh, by the way, surprise, surprise, you have a brother who's younger than you. You actually have a brother, and now this kid is in some jealousy mode, and he is just like, he's just traumatized completely. He's completely traumatized. He's been stripped away from everything he's known to be true in his life, and he's been told that all of that is a lie, and now he has to live with these new people who are his captives, who have captured him. And this is just the beginning of the story. Like, this is like 1% of my entire story, and I don't want to make this video so long, but that's kind of the story of where my journey kind of begins. And so and then I remember, as I grow older, my mom is also going through problems, because her child just doesn't know who she is. Her child doesn't accept her as his mother, and the child me was really truthful. My mom would always want validation and ask for, hey, do you love me? Do you love me? Say that you love me. And so it would go from, do you love me, to forcing me to say I love her. And as a child, I'd just be innocent and honest, and I'd say, no, I don't love you. I don't know who you are. I don't love you. And this went on until like ages 10, 11, 12. And so obviously it's tough on my mom as well and stuff. But again, this is like a big picture of my story. Like, I'm briefing it. It goes so much more in depth. And so you can see how that kind of shapes the narrative, and that kind of made me become depressed in my teenage days. And I was isolated, and I felt like a victim, and I felt weak and helpless. And even though inside I always felt like I have so much power in me, and I'm such a strong guy, and but I just couldn't do anything. And then anytime when I grew older as an adult, I just could not find success in what I wanted to do and what I was doing, because I just had so much of this story that at that time I didn't really bring to the surface, that was running my life. And as that happened, it just did not allow me to progress in my life. It did not allow me to move forward in my life, because I kept repeating the same loops. And I know a lot of brown people, majority of you guys, are in this same boat where you are repeating these loops. And so again, I'm telling you, don't take this lightly. This is a very, very deep experiment, a very, very deep process, and I want you to take your time, as much time as you need. I have spent decades on this. Decades. I am not joking with you. These stories did not just surface. It took me decades, where one day suddenly this story came to me. This piece of information came up from so deep within me. Because what the human mind does is, when you get traumatized so badly with something, it likes to completely hide it. It wants to protect you so badly, because that situation was so terrible that you don't even remember it happened to you, because it was just so bad, and it's just a protection mechanism. But that gets so deeply seeped into and rooted and stuck in your subconscious that starts playing out, and that is the story that keeps playing, and that loop keeps playing, and you don't even know it. You do not even know it. So you really want to extract these beliefs and these things with as much detail as you can, and you will not be able to do this in one sitting. If you're going to say, oh, I'm just going to sit down and write this story, it's just not going to work. And the story I've just told you is, again, I reiterate, it's just 1% of the story that I have been telling. And I'm a lot further along with this. I have rewritten my story, and so that exact same story I can tell you in a different angle. Like I can tell you from my parents' perspective, for example. I can tell you from my grandmother's perspective. I can tell you, oh, the situation was like that. But when I was telling this story to the strangers and on my travels and telling people, I was not really coming from that place. I was just sharing how I felt as a kid from my angle. I did not have a rewritten narrative. I had not yet done that work, and you will do that work. You have to do that work too. But first and foremost, we need to, again, like that GPS, know exactly where you are right here, right now. Okay? Yeah, I'm not gonna go too much more into my own stories and stuff because that is going to be like a full storybook. And yours is going to be a full storybook too. Okay? So do not rush this process. Take a chill pill, relax, live your life, but set the intention of, hey, I want these stories to come up in my mind so that I can start writing them down, jotting them down, recording them, so that I can have a better idea, a better image, a better picture of what's running my life up to this point. And once you can do this, oh man, this is going to be so powerful. We'll do this after phase 3, but this is going to be some very powerful stuff, but you need to do this. You have to do this. All right? And the output goal here is to really have the summary become a clear map of your current mental and emotional operating system, your current psychological system, physiological system. We are just going to have a complete map of where you are right now, truthfully. And none of us are going to have the same story. We all have different stories. When I'm traveling and I told my story to people, like, the reactions I got was, oh my goodness. Like, they genuinely could not believe that I have been through such things. And here's the funny thing. I thought that everybody has stories like that, where they've just been in some of the deepest shit. But come to realize, like, not really. Most people, like, they were happy with their childhoods and they were okay and things were great. They didn't really have this much of a impactful story to them. And that's when I realized, wait, oh my god, like, no wonder, like, I've just been unable to live my life. Like, I've just been completely down in the dumps from the get-go because my story has just been running in the background since ages 1, since the beginning. Like, I've just had a really backward start in a way because of that story that I had believed. Obviously, to get to this point, to be recording this, to be guiding you, to be a leader, and to be doing all the things I'm doing now, obviously I had to rewrite that story. And so that story is no longer true for me. I can tell you another version of my story, which I have created to be the new truth for myself. Again, I am getting ahead of myself. What we want to do is just get your raw story as it is. Whether it's been good, whether it's been bad, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you want to go as deep as possible, as much detail as possible, as granular as possible. All right? And so that will become the baseline that you've been running on until now. Then we'll know basically the operating system. Are you on iOS 5, iOS 6, or iOS 12? Like, what operating system are you on right now? And what are the updates and the software upgrades and the hardware upgrades that are needed to be made so that you can have an updated iPhone, a new version of the iPhone or whatever it is, right? But the baseline is extremely important. Step number 3. You have to share that GPT summary, basically. So 1, posting protocol. Share the summary. Post your GPT processed summary in the group. This will become your public baseline narrative, and everybody in Khalsa Mindset will be able to help you and support you. We will be there to support you, and I will be there, and I will also then get a better idea on where your beginning point is, which will then allow me to really guide you in the correct direction that you have to go, step by step, not jumping any steps, but really meeting you where you are and then holding your hand and taking you from there. Okay, but you have to do this. You need to do this. All right. And 2, cultural reframe. Truth over image. This isn't about shame. Do not feel shame about your story. Be proud of it, actually, because that's your story. That's what makes your hero's journey. That's what makes your story epic, something worth reading. Okay? This is about truth. Everyone respects you more when you bring your real story to the community. 3, community rule. Uplifting only. Only comment in ways that uplift. No pity. Do not feel judgment. Don't judge anybody's story and don't pity them. Pity is such a terrible thing. Do not pity them at all. We are not here to pity anyone. We are only here to uplift. We honor courage and authenticity above all else. Okay? You just want to respect people that are telling their story. You want to appreciate them. You want to thank them. Because wow, how powerful you must be to share your story so vulnerably, so openly. And how powerful you must be, how courageous you must be to even go within yourself and start digging deep and finding out your story. This is some very, very heavy work. And when you're doing this, you might feel drained too. So take your time with this. This is not a race. This is a marathon. You can take as much time with this as you want. If you need 10 years, take it. Because I took over 20 years to find my story. 20 years! Please let that sink in. This is not something short. This is a lot of work. A lot of work. So please do not rush this process. Please do not rush this process. And if I see you are rushing the process, you already know the rules. You're not going to go to the next phase. Because I genuinely care about you. And I want you to transform. I have you transformed already in my mind. And this is how it's going to happen. You have to take things step by step. All right, the culture and progression standards. So here are the requirements. The badge system. No one moves forward until they've posted their story summary in the group for accountability. So at the very minimum, you have to post your story. And don't worry, I won't force you to stay in phase 2 and be like, oh, you have to uncover your full story, because certain things may not come out then, but as long as you've done enough of the foundational work in phase 2, as you progress with life, suddenly you'll get more ideas, more information, more inspiration's gonna come to you, more, somebody's gonna tell you about your childhood, or you're gonna suddenly get a realization of like, oh my god, this happened to me, and then that's why I felt this, like that and this, and you're gonna come up with all these things are gonna start happening to you. And so at least I need your base story. Like, it needs to be enough of material where we can say, okay, we have a good idea of what your story has been so far. And so just like the previous phase, you do not move forward until you post your summary in the community. And when you do, then I will do the evaluation and you can get passed on to phase 3. Okay? And then the unlock progress, phase 3 access is only granted after completing and sharing your authentic story baseline narrative. So you see how everyone in the community is required. This is a non-negotiable. This is not a, I want to do this, so I will do this. No, you literally do not get to move forward until you do this. So this is all up to you. Do it. And the Brotherhood Standard. This exercise establishes the foundation of radical honesty that defines our community culture and values. Okay? And here are the cultural values. Courage, recognition. Your willingness to be vulnerable earns respect and establishes your commitment to your growth. This is a very, very powerful thing you're going to do. And you will be respected. You have to be respected for your courage. and nothing else will be tolerated. Okay? Truth foundation. Authenticity becomes the currency of respect and the foundation of all future brotherhood interactions. Transformation ready. Only by knowing your true starting point can you chart an authentic path to becoming who God intends you to be. Okay, let all of this sink in. This is some very, very, very deep stuff. Let it all sink in. And so, with that, get ready and start shedding just like a snake. You start shedding your skin. Your transformation begins. You cannot become who God intended you to become until you honestly acknowledge who you've been. This is your moment of truth and courage. And you are powerful enough to courageously do this despite the fears, despite the worries, despite the doubts, despite the emotions coming up when you're doing this deep work. This is absolutely revolutionary for you. And just know that whatever your story is, it is not the truth. It is just the story that you have been running up to now. But you need to bring it up because to you, it is your truth. And in future phases, I will show you and teach you how you can find your real truth, because this is just a story that you have believed to be true and it is running your entire life up to this point, but not anymore, because now we are going to bring up the story and then we are going to rewrite it in future phases. Okay, so bring up your story, take your time. This is not a 1 day thing, this is not even a 1 week thing, this may not even be a 1 month thing. Take your time and feel free to share in the community. You don't really need the exact summary and have everything in line and then you share it in the community. Like, you can work in the community, work through it. I will help you. The community will help you work through your own emotions, your own processes to really dig deep and get to the deepest root of your story. Because that's where the magic lies. That's where your beauty is. That's where your seed begins. And we want to get to that root. We really do. Okay? So I wish you so much power. I grant you all the power that I have. And I am sending it all to you. You are a courageous being. You are a powerful being. And you know that. Now start bringing up the story to light. Bring it up. Let's see what your story is. And then let's just completely... I'm excited after this because your life is changing. Your life has already changed. Okay? So just like that snake, shed your skin. Start shedding. Get ready for it. And your transformation begins now. I will see you in the community.